Why no contact makes you unstoppable psychological breakdown. Topic 1. The silent escape. After a turbulent and emotionally draining breakup, Alex chooses the path of no contact, not as a weapon of revenge, but as a desperate cry for survival. The silence is heavy, oppressive, almost suffocating at first. Alex had been submerged in a toxic relationship where love had slowly transformed into manipulation, control, and emotional erosion. Now, as the final threads of that connection snap, Alex is left with nothing but the quiet aftermath, alone with their thoughts. In the beginning, the silence is maddening. The first few days are a blur of restless nights and aching solitude. Alex's mind races, haunted by memories of arguments, the ex's manipulative words, and the overwhelming sense of being trapped in a cycle of emotional instability. Every impulse urges Alex to pick up the phone, to send a message, to break the silence, but each time they resist, a small seed of power begins to take root within. The temptation to reach out becomes a test, a barrier that forces Alex to face their deepest fears, the fear of loneliness, of never being good enough, of being abandoned. And yet, with each passing hour, they begin to realize that these fears are not truths. They are the echoes of past pain that have lingered far too long. The turning point comes when Alex, exhausted by the internal struggle, has an unexpected breakthrough. The silence is no longer passive. It is a choice. It is a decision to step into a new reality, one that isn't dictated by the whims of the ex or the chaotic emotional highs and lows of the relationship. This is where the psychological battle truly begins. Through the haze of withdrawal, Alex finds themselves confronting their own vulnerabilities, insecurities, past wounds, and patterns of self-doubt that had been buried beneath years of emotional neglect. But there is something profound that begins to emerge from the darkness, a latent strength. The loneliness, the stillness, the absence of the ex. These are no longer threats. They are opportunities. Alex begins to tap into parts of themselves they had long ignored, the part that enjoys solitude, that finds strength in stillness, that craves independence. In moments of silence, Alex starts to reconnect with their sense of identity, questioning the person they had become in the relationship and the person they truly are outside of it. The emotional fog begins to lift. A feeling of clarity washes over Alex, bringing a sense of purpose, and with it, the realization that they were never truly powerless. The ex had only held power by planting seeds of self-doubt, but now, in the silence, Alex is rediscovering their own voice, an internal voice that has been drowned out for too long. The first sparks of empowerment flicker into life, and Alex begins to see that the only way forward is not through reclaiming the past, but through embracing a future where they are free from manipulation, free from fear. The silent escape is no longer just a method of healing. It is the birth of a new Alex, someone who is beginning to rise from the ashes of the past, someone who understands that no contact isn't just about silence. It is about creating space to reclaim control over their own life. And so, Alex's journey has only just begun, one of self-discovery, resilience, and ultimately unstoppable power. How does this version feel? Let me know if you'd like any adjustments. Topic 2. The power dynamic shifts. As the days stretch into weeks of silence, something remarkable begins to unfold. Alex, once emotionally tethered to the whims and needs of their ex, begins to feel a profound shift. In the absence of communication, the power dynamic that once held Alex in its grip is beginning to crumble, and the ex's dominance over Alex's emotions starts to lose its force. At first, the change is subtle, like the first crack in a dam that soon becomes impossible to ignore. For the ex, the silence is unbearable. They were used to controlling the ebb and flow of the relationship, manipulating the emotions, creating tension, pulling Alex closer when they wanted attention, and pushing them away when they desired space. The ex had always been the one to dictate the terms, emotional highs, dramatic lows, each cycle reinforcing their control over Alex. But now, with no response to their messages, no call to fall back on, the ex is left stranded in a void of their own making. Frustration begins to boil within the ex, whose actions were always fueled by a need for validation and control. At first, they try to reason with themselves. Maybe Alex is just being stubborn, or maybe they're just going through a phase. But soon, the ex's mind begins to spiral. Why isn't Alex responding? Why don't they care? The once powerful manipulator begins to unravel, their ego bruised and their confidence waning. The carefully crafted image of being in control starts to crack, and they find themselves questioning everything. They can't fathom the idea of being ignored, of being irrelevant to Alex's life. Meanwhile, Alex's transformation continues in isolation. The silence, which had once felt suffocating, is now becoming a source of strength. Every moment of restraint, every time Alex resists the urge to reach out, they feel more powerful. The emotional fog that had clouded their mind is starting to lift, and with it comes clarity. Self-doubt is replaced with self-assurance. No longer does Alex feel the need to apologize, to beg for affection, or to chase validation. They begin to realize that true power was never in holding on to someone who didn't value them. It was in the ability to walk away and stand tall without the crutch of a toxic relationship. Alex becomes almost unrecognizable. The weight of insecurity that once pressed them down is replaced by an aura of confidence. Their thoughts become sharper, clearer. They rediscover passions and interests that had long been overshadowed by the ex's needs. Self-discipline tightens, routines become rituals, and slowly, Alex starts to build a life that exists not for someone else, but for themselves. They find themselves more centered, more capable of navigating life's ups and downs without seeking someone to lean on. This newfound sense of self-mastery is a revelation to Alex. They begin to see that the real power was never in being needed by someone else. It was always about being able to stand on their own 2 feet, to thrive independently of external validation. Alex's mind, once clouded by doubt, now sees the ex not as someone to chase or beg for approval, but as someone who was just a fleeting chapter in their life, a chapter they no longer needed. In the meantime, the ex, despite their external confidence, is losing their grip. They begin to reach out more frequently, escalating the attempts, texts, calls, even showing up unexpectedly. But each time, Alex remains unresponsive, unshaken. The ex's frustration grows. Their actions become more desperate, more erratic, as they try to reclaim the control they once had over Alex's emotions. But it's too late. The power has shifted completely. What was once an unbalanced relationship, where the ex held all the cards, is now a battle of one person's strength against another's desperation. As the weeks pass, Alex no longer feels the weight of the ex's presence. Instead, they feel light, liberated, almost untouchable. The realization settles in. Alex is no longer the person they were when they entered this relationship. They have evolved into someone unrecognizable, not just to the ex, but to themselves. The silence, which was once a cage, is now their sanctuary. The ex, whose emotional manipulation once held Alex in its grip, now finds themselves helpless in the face of Alex's emotional independence. The shift is complete. The ex's power has been stripped away, while Alex stands tall, unwavering. The audience is left to witness the irreversible transformation. The person who once needed validation now commands respect. Alex's journey of self-discovery has led to one undeniable truth. The real power was never in controlling others, but in controlling oneself. How does this expanded version resonate with you? Let me know if you'd like any further tweaks. Topic 3. The unlikely return. Just when Alex feels like they've finally broken free from the toxic grip of their past, something unexpected happens. The ex returns, but not in the way Alex had feared. They don't come back desperate, scrambling for attention, or in a flurry of emotional chaos. Instead, the ex arrives calm, composed, and seemingly transformed. Their behavior is deliberate, self-assured. There's no trace of the manipulation or volatility that had once defined their presence in Alex's life. They have changed, perhaps more than Alex could ever have imagined. In their absence, the ex has gone through a deep period of self-reflection. They've examined the wreckage of the relationship and, for the first time, acknowledged their own flaws. The arrogant control that once defined them has softened. They no longer see love as a battle to be won, but a space to be shared. Their emotional intelligence has blossomed. They no longer wield words as weapons. Instead, they speak with vulnerability, offering Alex an insight into their own growth. It's a side of the ex Alex has never seen before. When they first meet again, the encounter is laced with tension. Alex stands before the ex, surprised by the calm energy that radiates from them. Gone is the frantic need for validation that used to dominate their conversations. Instead, the ex speaks with the maturity of someone who has confronted their own shortcomings, someone who seems to truly understand the damage they had caused. The ex doesn't apologize in the way Alex had expected. Instead, they offer something far more powerful: understanding. They admit their mistakes and the way they had manipulated Alex, but they also talk about their own pain, the emotional wounds they never addressed, and the internal struggles that led them to behave in destructive ways. The ex is no longer the villain Alex once perceived, but a person who has done the work to heal. They don't expect forgiveness, nor do they demand anything from Alex. They simply want to share their growth and leave the door open for reconciliation, not for a return to the past, but as two people who have evolved separately. As the conversation unfolds, the air is thick with unspoken questions. Alex watches, unsure how to respond to this unexpected transformation. The ex is no longer the same person who once caused them so much pain. But neither is Alex. The person standing in front of the ex is not the person they once knew, no longer trapped in insecurity, no longer dependent on emotional highs and lows. Alex is stronger, more self-aware, and undeniably independent. They have grown in the silence, learning that their true worth was never in the approval of the ex. But now, a new internal conflict begins to surface. Is this new version of the ex someone Alex can trust? Is this growth genuine, or simply a clever manipulation, another layer of control? The ex is no longer a villain, but Alex knows the danger of forgetting the past too easily. The sudden return forces Alex to confront a difficult question: who has truly changed here? In this moment, Alex realizes that their journey wasn't just about escaping the ex. It was about transforming into a person who could see the difference between genuine growth and manipulation. The ex's return becomes a mirror, reflecting back to Alex just how far they've come. The ex no longer holds the same power over Alex's emotions. Instead, they stand as a symbol of a past that has already been outgrown, a reminder of what was left behind in order to move forward. The tension between them intensifies, but it's no longer about the relationship. It's about the battle of self-mastery. Alex is forced to examine their own growth in the presence of the ex's evolution. Who holds the real power now? Is it the ex, who has transformed their own emotional world, or Alex, who has already unlocked a new life of emotional independence? The audience is left with a sense of suspense. The ex may have changed, but Alex is now playing a different game, one where self-worth doesn't come from another person's validation. The stakes are higher than ever. The real question isn't whether Alex will fall back into the old dynamic. It's whether they will allow this new version of the ex to become part of their world again, or continue down their own path toward total independence. How does this expanded version of Topic 3 feel? Let me know if you'd like further adjustments or additions. Topic 4. The ultimate revelation. The moment of truth has arrived. After weeks of silence, self-discovery, and transformation, Alex now faces the culmination of their journey. The final battle is not against the ex, but against the version of themselves that once relied on validation, emotional manipulation, and external approval. It is here, in this pivotal confrontation, that the true power of no contact is revealed. Alex and the ex stand face to face, each having undergone their own metamorphosis. The ex, still calm and composed, has shed the layers of control and manipulation that once governed their actions. They are emotionally intelligent, self-aware, and seeking understanding, no longer a manipulator, but someone who has grown beyond their previous behavior. But despite all the changes, the ex is still driven by the need to be validated, still seeking approval from others to feel complete. The ex, in their quest for growth, has learned many things, but has yet to master their most important lesson. That true freedom comes from within, not from others. For Alex, however, this moment is different. Alex stands at the edge of a revelation they never expected. The journey wasn't about reconciling with the ex, or even getting revenge for past wounds. It was about mastering themselves. Alex has walked the path of self-discovery, emerging stronger, more emotionally grounded, and undeniably independent. They no longer need anyone's approval to feel whole. The transformation was never about winning in the traditional sense. It was about freedom. The kind of freedom that comes from not being chained to the opinions or emotional needs of others. Alex's confidence radiates as they look at the ex, who now seems almost powerless in comparison. The ex might have transformed on the surface, but their internal battle still rages, an insatiable need for external validation that Alex has long since outgrown. For the first time, Alex sees the ex as they truly are, still a prisoner of their own need for validation, unable to truly stand alone. The ultimate revelation comes in a quiet, almost unnoticed moment. As the ex speaks, hoping to explain themselves or perhaps reconnect, Alex recognizes that the ex is not the problem. The ex, despite their growth, is still seeking something Alex no longer needs: emotional dependence. In a pivotal realization, Alex understands that the greatest victory is not in reclaiming the past, but in walking away with the power to shape their own future. The ex's return, their apology, and their newfound emotional clarity no longer matter. Alex has already won. Not over the ex, but over the deepest internal battle of all, the battle for self-mastery. The ex, who had once defined Alex's world, now stands as a shadow of the person they once were. They are no longer the source of Alex's pain, nor the object of their longing. The emotional manipulation that once held Alex captive is gone, dissolved in the silence of no contact. The ex may have evolved, but Alex has transcended them, walking away with a sense of freedom that the ex can never truly understand. The final moments are a quiet triumph. Alex leaves behind the relationship, not because they hate the ex, but because they have finally mastered the art of emotional independence. They are no longer chained to the past, nor are they at the mercy of anyone's emotional needs. The ex, despite their transformation, is still bound by the need to be validated by others. Alex, on the other hand, is now unstoppable, not because of any external victory, but because they have unlocked the highest form of power, the freedom to live on their own terms, unaffected by the opinions or actions of anyone else. The audience watches as Alex walks away, not in anger or defeat, but with a sense of quiet satisfaction and inner strength. This is the real power, the power to grow beyond the need for others to define who you are. Alex doesn't need the ex anymore. The ex doesn't need Alex. Both have transformed, but only one of them has reached true freedom. The series ends on this note of profound self-realization. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away, not to win, but to grow beyond what you once were, to become unstoppable in your own right. How does this final topic feel now? Let me know if you'd like to add or change anything.